The past 5 years have been the busiest in my life, mainly because I was lazy. When I was in my 20s, I was really lazy, and I paid for it by being a failure. 2006 was the most productive year I've ever had in terms of making music. I made basically 2 albums, and that I was really proud of and really happy. And I'm a little sad to go on tour because I feel like I can make a lot more music right now. Like I feel really finally hitting my stride with work. I'm feeling I'm really much more productive now than I used to be. Yeah. I wish I had gotten more of the extra crap that they want from me all the time done before this, like all the videos and B-sides and just so that I don't have to worry about it. I can just, I've done a lot of it. I've been much more prepared this time than last time, but in a weird way, I'm a couple of people. I have a label and I have a band and I'm a DJ and a producer, and one of the lives that I'm missing the most is I like to train fighting. I like to DJ and to throw parties in New York, and I like to be at home with my wife and dog, and that would be a full life. Like I'd make enough money if I DJ'd, and I could train, and I could go to dinner with my wife and walk the dog in the morning, and like that'd be a pretty full life. But there's not a lot of room for some of the lives I want to live.
LCD is mainly you, but when you're touring it's a 5-piece. Are you going to leave it at that and keep it your pet studio project and live doing it with Nancy Wang and those people?
I never make a plan. I mean, it works fine. We're all really good friends first, and it seems pretty relaxed about that. People understand that when we go on tour, people in the band understand that when we go on tour, we're a band. And everyone has the same say. I'm just the one stuck doing the interviews. But otherwise, we're a band, and where we stay and what we eat and everything's up to everybody as much as anybody else. But I'm the guy that does the record stuff. It's just not that. It doesn't seem that weird to us, I think. Because on tour it doesn't make a difference. It's just before tour.
You've once turned a job down as a screenwriter for Seinfeld.
It's kind of I didn't turn down a job. I was given scripts by somebody that worked with the show to try and write some shows, and I just never. And I got a letter from them checking in on me, and I just didn't do it. I was stupid. And I didn't know that the show would be, of course, the second season, I didn't know the show would be as popular as it is, as it turned out to be. But I never think of myself as funny. And I'm always afraid when people say I'm funny, because because I find that people think of things very simplistically, and that if it's funny, it's not serious. Or if it's, if it's funny, it's not, I don't mean it. And I'm totally a very sincere person. I mean what I say. It's just sometimes it's more interesting to make it layered as opposed to sentimental, I guess. I think people think I'm being funny when I'm being really serious. I need to look at that, but I don't like to act serious because I think that's empty. I think most of rock is the opposite. It's people don't mean anything, but they act sincere and emotional, and that's supposed to be enough. Like bands that feel it, and they like make faces when they sing, and they sing these meaningless drivel that's emotive. And people think, oh, they mean something, but they don't mean anything, and they're not saying anything. And I'd rather be the opposite. I'd rather be totally telling the truth and say what I mean, and not try and woo you with my sentimentality, I guess, or woo or manipulate people with sort of this emotional, juvenile kind of like bougie fucking fakery. It just kind of bums me out. That's how it starts. Back to your house.
In Sound of Silver, which is the title song of the album, you kind of reflect on youth. Do you reflect on your youth in that song, or is it just youth as a whole?
Well, I can only I can only legally reflect on my own youth, I think. But I think it's not super ununiversal. I think being a teenager is awful, and I think we often romanticize it, especially when dealing with music, and you think about how important music was to you as a kid. And I don't think it's that music was so important to you, although that's true too, and I admire that. It's also that you are so important to you. You're so wrapped up in yourself, and music is one of the things you use to identify yourself. And as much as I love that importance, I think it's a different way I listen to music now, and it's just as deep. And I wouldn't trade my life now for my life as a teenager, because I think it was awful. So it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of something that goes through my head a little bit.
You grew up in New Jersey. New Jersey is now known especially for the Sopranos. Does living there and growing up there have a huge influence on who you are?
Well, New Jersey is a weird place because there's a lot of different places in New Jersey that are all very, very different. Like Sopranos in New Jersey and North Jersey, and then there's the beach, But where I grew up was a town that was named after another town that was next to it. Like the nice town's called Princeton. It's very famous, has a beautiful university. And the town next to it's called Princeton Junction, and it's this crappy town that's named after the fact that it has the train station where people are going to the nice town from. And so I grew up with a pretty intense inferiority complex when it came to culture. Princeton was very cultured, and Princeton Junction was garbage, and you kind of grew up, feeling like you're garbage. So I think that's had a pretty profound impact on me. Moving to New York and kind of finding my way without being able to use any of the things that you might use, any of the ladder rungs that you might have if you didn't hate Princeton. You didn't hate so much, and you didn't feel hated. I think it would have made me a very different person, I think.
Almost every song, apart from the last one, just starts off really slowly and then blossoms really. Is that the way you make music, and that the way you get caught on?
That's the way I actually create stuff. It's usually there's something looping in the beginning, simple, that I enjoy in its pure state, that's gentle, like the beginning of North American Scum. It has the little beatbox. I like those gentle things, and then I like to play on them and let it grow organically. So like that song Get Innocuous is actually just one long drum take with one microphone. Like it's the first song I did in the studio. I like to kind of play along to things and let them grow. Yeah. And I think that's what I didn't do on the first album as much, but I did do on the 12s. So I wanted to get back to that a little bit on the second album, that type of organic growth of the songs.
What you're going to do now, or what you've promised to do, is with every single you put out, you're going to do a 12-inch. Mm-hmm. And because that sort of thing you left for others to do with a previous album, no?
No, I didn't. I liked that I made dance music, that I take dance music seriously, and I made 12s of my own. And when the album was being promoted over the last couple of years, I didn't like that when they put out a new single, there wasn't a new song by me. There was only new remixes by others. So I wanted to make sure I made a dance song of my own to go on the records that wasn't a remix for each single. So that's what I've promised to do it. I'm going to do my best as long as I don't fall apart.
And hope your wife and dog approve.
Yeah, well, the wife and dog don't mind me in the studio so much, because at least I come home to go to sleep and wake up and have coffee.